this type of injury, like you don't know when I wake up, I'll feel, different than the day before. And
this is the first time we heard from Caitlin since the team announced on Memorial Day she was dealing with a left quad strain. She would be out for at least 2 weeks.
We were told that Clark was not seen in the open portion of practice by reporters who are on the ground there.
Just watch and absorb it, and it's the same when, I'm not active too.
Breaking news out of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark has finally spoken out, and what she said left fans shocked, the league scrambling, and players furious. The face of the league is hurt, but the truth behind her injury is way deeper than a quad strain. This is about exploitation, pressure, and a system that may have just broken its brightest star. And what Angel Reese did right after. That made it explode even more. Stay with us. This is bigger than you think.
We'll see. It could be a possibility, but I could also not be available for that game too. I think just having good perspective is the best way to approach it. Like, yeah, you can be frustrated and whatnot, but, I think the medical team has done a really good job of,
On Memorial Day, the Indiana Fever quietly dropped a statement. Caitlin Clark was out with a left quad strain, minimum 2 weeks. But by the time reporters arrived, Clark was missing. No shooting drills, no warm-ups, no sign of her. And when Clark finally spoke, she didn't say she was coming back. Instead, she admitted, "I'll be reevaluated this weekend. It's day by day."
Yeah, I'll be reevaluated this weekend, so I'll miss this weekend's game. But after that, it's, day by day and see how I feel and just kind of turn to the medical staff and what.
So what caused this? WNBA insiders say it wasn't just one play. It was a season of wear and tear, hits, fouls, and mental exhaustion. Clark's quad gave out during a showdown with the New York Liberty. But sources close to the Fever suggest this wasn't the first time. Clark mentioned similar issues back in preseason, but the team pushed her. The league promoted her. And now she's broken.
I think the medical team has done a really good job of, doing my rehab every single day, staying in a routine, coming in, getting shots up. But more than anything, I think just focusing on being a really good teammate, being there for my teammates, being a voice for them.
When the news broke, everything crashed. Tickets to the June 7th game versus Chicago Sky dropped from $80 plus to just $14. Fans canceled hotels. Flights refunded. Nobody wanted to see the WNBA without Clark. The face of the league was gone, and Angel Reese dancing in the spotlight couldn't distract from the silence. Clark was the reason the league had buzz. And suddenly, without her, the fire was out.
Been told so far by the team is that this is actually an injury that was separate from the quad tightness issue, as Caitlin Clark described it earlier in the preseason, that she dealt with before. So it's a little bit of interesting situation given that it was the same leg.
With Caitlin out, Angel Reese became the center of attention. But not in the way fans hoped. Her on-court antics, social media posts, and trash talk sparked outrage. Some fans felt she was mocking Clark. Others defended her as just doing her thing. But one thing was clear. The rivalry felt different with Clark watching from the bench instead of torching defenses on the court.
Caitlin was asked when she's expected to come back. She told us she would be reevaluated after the weekend. After that, it would be day by day. The Fever are on the road for 2 road games before coming back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse next Saturday.
Sources inside the Fever say the mood shifted dramatically. Sophie Cunningham tried to rally the team, but players admitted it was like losing your engine mid-race. Clark wasn't just the top scorer. She was the motivator, the organizer, the reason people showed up. Fever went 1-2 without her. And now, they're just hoping she'll come back before the season slips away.
Caitlin telling us she's been a connector between her coaches and teammates. They've gone 1-2 without her, and they'll be without her again this week.
Soon, the online world exploded. Hashtag Protect Clark and hashtag Boycott WNBA trended nationwide. One viral tweet read, "Why support a league that lets its star get beat up every night and calls it entertainment?" And fans began turning away, not just from the Fever, but from the league. Because for the first time, they realized there's no backup plan if Caitlin Clark goes down.
So I think that's just kind of been the time for me to really find some patience, and I've never been a patient person my entire life, so this has definitely tested me a little bit, but I think it's going to be really good for me. And like I said, I've just tried to approach it in the best way I possibly can. I can't change.
Clark later admitted, "This tested me. I've never been patient. But this injury made me find a new level of calm. Her words showed a different side, not the competitor, not the icon, but the 22-year-old woman facing national pressure, corporate expectations, and physical pain, all at once. She was hurting and still trying to lead from the bench.
The girl is spectacular. It's not like she's not a scrub. She's not only can play, she's a star caliber player who draws this attention.
Now, the league and fans are split. Should she return this season? Or is it time to shut it down? Some insiders say Caitlin needs at least 4 to 6 more weeks. Others claim she'll be rushed back to save ratings. But one thing's clear, nobody is asking what Caitlin really wants. And that silence says everything.
When a player is injured, if the other team knows that a player is injured, they will go at that player.
If Clark doesn't return this season, what happens next? The WNBA is now realizing it built its season around one player. And without her, the stadiums echo, the headlines fade, and the advertisers disappear. Caitlin Clark's injury is no longer just a story. It's a warning.
Focusing on being a really good teammate, being there for my teammates, being a voice for them, because that's what I am when I'm playing. So you got to still be that consistent voice when I'm sitting on the bench. So I try to do that as much as I can for them. And just try to be there for them, I think, has been my focus.
She carried the league. She carried the ratings. And now she's carrying an injury nobody can ignore. The WNBA has a choice to make: protect its players or lose everything. What do you think? Should Caitlin Clark sit out the rest of the season? Should the WNBA be held accountable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more truth behind the headlines.
Everything that you guys told us during the offseason about playing quick, playing with pace, pushing the ball up the court, everyone run, they weren't doing that, especially in the last.
It was supposed to be her league, her moment. But just when the WNBA was finally basking in the glow of a new superstar, everything came crashing down.
For the Fever, one thing to keep in mind is that this is a sort of situation where the next 2 weeks, luckily for them, the schedule is a little bit playing the Chicago Sky, the Connecticut Sun, who haven't won yet. So they are trying to hold down the fort for now, while Caitlin Clark will be out.
It started like any other night. Fast break, hard foul. Caitlin crashes to the floor. But this wasn't just any bruise. Moments later, silence. A hush that echoed across every major sports outlet in America.
Commenting that she was sick. You could hear it in her voice that she was sick. It seems like at this point, this is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlin at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season.
With Clark sidelined, one would expect other stars to step up. Enter Angel Reese, once the fire to Clark's ice, now shouting into a void.
Covers up a lot of stuff when you're in the heat of battle. And after the game, I had some pain and then, got an MRI, and that kind of gave me the result that I didn't want to see. But, those type of things don't lie. So, yeah.
It wasn't just about Clark's injury. It was about how the WNBA handled it. Or didn't. No detailed report. No meaningful press statement. Just vague timelines and motivational tweets.
Think that it's going to be longer than 2 weeks. With them saying a minimum of 2 weeks, I feel like that's kind of just giving us breadcrumbs, just giving us enough information. And I actually don't think that they're going to give more for the sake of Caitlin.
And here's where the story gets ugly. For over a year, Clark has taken elbows, body checks, and borderline assaults. Where were the refs? Where were the fines? Where was the league?
We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season. If you have something going on in your legs, like your legs are actually a huge part of your shooting mechanics, something was thrown off. So if that part of her body was thrown off, it probably threw off the entire mechanic.
The moment Clark was benched, the numbers tanked. Attendance plummeted. Ticket resale value dropped lower than a Happy Meal. Even vendors stopped showing up.
Caitlin Clark has been taking a beating for the last year and a half, and it quickly got physical early in this season, man. There was a lot of games.
Aya Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, elite athletes fighting for screen time. But without Clark drawing the crowds, even their greatness falls into the shadows. And then, after days of silence, Caitlin finally spoke.
Her voice was calm,
but her words? Devastating. What now? The The WNBA is standing at the edge of a cliff. It can choose to evolve, invest in player protection, diversify its stars, and grow responsibly. Or it can gamble everything on Clark again. Caitlin Clark's silence is louder than any buzzer. Her pain speaks volumes. And her absence? It exposes everything.